Bob, it's the First Circuit Podcast, episode 79,000.
It is?
Yes!
Oh,
What have
wow.
we got covering today, Bob?
Oh, we have the Lucky Charms event. Nice Lance Bro Sale and Missile Systems. We have Biter?
Yes, we do, and we have a Bob.
Yes, we do. We have a Bob as well. So, all coming up next.
First things first, wrapping up the Lucky Charms event. How much did you do of this, Bob?
Well, there's two different things that
Like, did you get the grand prizes?
of course not. Basically, I don't play that much for that type thing. The problem is that I have not enough time. Like old Bob only got 69, and then my young Bob, he got like I think like 90 something. It's just I don't have time for this a lot of times. It's cool getting loot bags. It's cool getting the kind of stuff. It's great getting MC and everything, but time is the key. Time is the problem. The first second phases are fine. They're perfect. But the third phase, playing 25 games, it gets at a certain point, you just get burnout stage.
Yeah, I only really played for the first phase. The second phase was quite a chore in of itself because getting 10 kill assists means at most you're doing is 12 in a match, and that's if your team is winning.
Yeah,
So there's times where your team just gets absolutely trounced, and you're the only one who got any kills, which means zilch progress towards the event,
yeah.
which does not feel good at all.
Well, yeah, and you definitely basically carry the team, and you're sitting there going, "Well, I carried the team, but I didn't get in the bag." And that's kind of screwed up.
Yeah, exactly. So I just did the first event, and that coincidentally did 60% or so of the second phase, and I just could not be bothered to drag myself back for phase three.
Yeah, that's something I noticed when talking to different people. It's a cool event as far as like playing the game. You do get it though, but it's just at the third phase. Just I don't know. They might want to put it in the beginning, have that as the first phase. So like maybe 50, 60 games or something like that. And that way you're still playing in the first phase and still getting it done instead of like you're burnt out playing all these different things and getting all the different loot bags, and then you got to go play another 25 games. You're like, crap, dude. If they put it in the first phase and then have phase one, two, phase one as two and two as three, that I don't think will be too bad. Or even put phase two, just keep it there, phase one and phase three. Go ahead and switch them out.
Yeah, I don't know why they do the phases. It doesn't, at least for me, it's a bit of a turn off. I have to wait until the final phase to actually do all the things. I just think they did total damage for phase one. That was really good because it's just a tally. And if you're doing damage in a match, you're working towards it. Whereas they've often just done get X max score in a match or get number of kill assists, and uh, it requires you to do a certain level of, you have to achieve a certain amount, or just you get a token reward every time, and it forces you to play an X number of matches. I think just next time it could just be total number of damage, get work up to 50k damage and work up to, I don't know, 5k match score or whatever.
That would be not bad actually. Like after thinking about doing phase one as phase three, that would kind of crappy because like what 10 days to make 50,000 damage, and it was taking a lot of people really hard, a lot of time to do 50,000 damage. So, like you said, have them all just there, and make phase three maybe 100 games. Do that kind of thing. Just have it all there. That way, you get literally like 4 or 5 bags each match, and then you can kind of get it done really quickly. But let's say you need 50,000 damage to get it done the whole time. For it that way, you're not just sitting there and playing for like 2 or 3 days, and then get the prize and then stop playing. But they do this phase one, two, and three just to get people to come back to the game, which I understand it's a marketing thing for people to come back and kind of like go, well, I gotta go 24 more bags, so I'll do phase three now, type thing. And they do that all the time to get people coming back to go ahead and either spend more money or just be part of the game system.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do next time. I'm a big fan of the damage thing. I actually just did a cumulative match score thing as well, but in the end, I was just not too interested.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and the pick a price thing. I think we covered this like last time
yeah.
for the mechs and everything. Mountain lion camo, yeah. And then the mechs are champion mechs. if they had it as hero mechs, it would have been a little bit better for something that you got to spend so much time doing. I would think they actually would raise these up to hero mechs or something.
Yeah, I think they don't want to too liberally give away a hero mix, so the champions do make some degree of sense, and you've got a lot of options. They did before even just offer regular variant mechs, so at least with the champions, you're getting that XP boost. It's a mech you can master much quicker.
Okay.
Um, so I don't mind that. I wish if you put in all the work to get the mech and the camo scheme was worth it.
Yeah.
Mountain Lion camo is so unappealing as a paint scheme. I don't know. There's other mundane paint schemes out there that people would prefer. I think on average, but it is what it is.
Yeah. True. 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 Okay. Well, that's a little bit of thoughts about Lucky Charms, and what? How about the nice Lance Bro? Nice Lance Bro.
Nice Lance Pro sales. And this time as well, they're offering 50% off Mountain Lion camo. No, I do not want Mountain Lion camos.
I know. I know.
What is this? What is it with BGI and Mountain Lion camos? You just be giving it away like crazy, and now you're just like 50% off. Please use the Mountain Lion camo.
And
What?
one shots.
Yeah, yeah. As usual with paint schemes, it's the permanent and one shots. You get 50% off together.
But yeah, you're right on that though. Like, have it like 50% off colors. Because when was the last color sale? Because I want to get some colors to paint my mech all spiffy and everything, but I just like I don't want to spend 1,000 MC for one freaking color that I might not use it like ever again.
I don't know why Mountain Lion camos is associated with having a nice lance, bro.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of weird.
I don't know, like I guess Sherman pattern maybe is a bit more, having a bro lance. But
Sure.
why mountain lion camos? But if you're doing a mountain lion camo, just at least do um something like green for the forest below the mountain, brown for the mountain, and then blue for the sky above. Just have some token 3 colors that would fit with a mountain lion camo
Oh yeah,
for
true, true.
50% off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's been a while since they've done a sale. Like I think, or at least the big thing has just been that mech bag sale,
Yeah.
a big mech bag event, and there wasn't even a sale going on. So I think with this one they were like, oh wow, we haven't actually done a sale in a while. Quick, throw something together. Like this doesn't even have a promotional art at the top. They usually have some, just mech shooting something, and try to make it look better at the top. Nothing like that. It's just text. So I have a feeling this is thrown together because they forgot they needed sales every week.
You make a good point on that. Looking at it now, it's like, yeah, there's no picture like you normally do. There's no cool picture of a clan mech shooting something or infantry mech like jumping off a cliff or something like, and there's nothing like that. And it's just like, hey, and plus also they didn't have any mech sales for about a week, and normally they always have something going
Mm.
on. Always have something going on. So that makes a lot of sense. They just kind of just probably popped us together, going, "Hey, we need some more money." you know?
Yeah, yeah. If you had time, you would have put the lance together, all standing side by side or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
A Flea, Vulcan, Thanatos, and Fafnir all in a line. There we go.
That would have been perfect, actually.
Yeah, but no art whatsoever. But yeah, there's 4 mix of each weight class for each tech base for 40% off C-bills and MC, which is nice enough. Though I don't know, I'm often just waiting till the 50% off sales.
Hmm. Yeah, same here,
Um,
actually.
if you're buying them, you might as well get them for 40% off. But some of the choices here is a bit. The flea is so cheap.
Yeah, I
You are
know.
not saving that much by getting 40% off.
What is it, like
And
1.2 million or something like that?
yeah, it's got a standard engine to start with, so it's pretty darn cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
And some mechs like the Incubus, you
Just throw in
really
the
shouldn't.
trash. Just throw that mech in the trash. That's how it goes. That mech is horrible, man. I mean, damn. Throw that in garbage. Yeah, the Vulcan's okay. The Thanatos is, it's halfway. I bought the hero like last night, and it wasn't too bad. I had some fun with it. Wasn't like my go-to mech. And the Fafnir, I'm not a assault pilot, so it's kind of like, but the Fafnir, obviously put the 2 heavy Gauss on there and a couple little things, and run with that type of thing. But the Black Lantern, I actually had a good time with the Black Lantern. It was a lot of fun to play. The Hellfire, I have them, but I haven't really messed with them. The Blood Asp, I have them, but I haven't really messed with them. So I can't tell you.
Yeah, Blood Asp with the CT ECM is a half decent mech. I sort of always feel that it's good at hill peeking, but when you try and take it into a brawl, it feels really clumsy and too tall and too big of a target. So it's much better at just staying back and hill peeking and doing some amazing damage with its side torso mounts.
Yeah.
Hellfire, I'm sad you don't see that many Hellfires, but it's basically a mad dog with mask. You shove on a couple of ATMs and you can do a lot of work. Except, of course, you can't after the most recent patch. So poor Hellfire. And yeah, we mentioned the light mix, the Black Lana. Yeah, it's not too bad. I usually think most people's sensibilities, they try and sort of turn it into a brawler. It's kind of tanky like the linebacker, but often the hard points with lots of weapons on it are not the tanky hard points, which
No.
means it's just a 55 tonner with a lot less tonnage to work with than, say, the Stormcrow. And the Stormcrow's already got a decent speed to it and good hitboxes.
And how
Now,
about the Vulcan?
Vulcan, I think the most success people have with that is actually the 5 medium pulse Vulcan. It's just a more agile wolfhound. It's not as tanky, I don't think, but that agility is really nice.
Okay.
Special mention a little bit would go to the mask UAC Vulcan. It's not that great. It's a UAC 10 plus 2 medium lasers, and you don't go too fast, but that agility with a UAC 10 that doesn't jam is kind of hilarious. And Thanatos and Fafnir are fairly solid mechs. They both have problems with sort of being big giant blob targets that can get focused down quite a bit too easily. But with their ECM and good hard points on average, UC can do fairly well.
Yeah, I'm just not a stall pilot, so I don't really play the Fafnir that much.
What would you say if this Innisphere Lance versus this Clan Lance? So they had one of each of the mechs.
Mm. I'd probably say the Innisphere Lance. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but the Incubus garbage. The Flea would come over and kill the Blood Asps. Yeah, I would say the Innisphere. The Incubus just run off in the middle of the field and just go kill itself. But I would say the Innisphere Lance would actually blow it away.
I would generally agree. The Fafnir and Thanatos are the heaviest of the heavy, 175 tons
Yeah.
against just 90 and 60 tons. So just in terms of pure, their heavier end is a lot heavier. And both Thanatos and Fafnir generally have fairly good survival quirks and can do some pretty beefy loadouts. Um, the the Black Lantern, Hellfire, and Incubus could make quite a good kill team, but the poor Blood Asp has just been left behind to die.
I know.
And in general, I actually kind of like the Flea and Vulcan. They can be very agile skirmishers,
Hmm.
whereas the Black Lantern, it's okay, but it's. I think the Black Lantern would have an edge on the Vulcan. It's just that Vulcan's going to be good at peeking and sniping away with its medium pulse lasers. So, in the end, I think just the heavier side of the Innisphere Lance is going to do a pretty decent job, whereas the clans, whilst they have agility, they're going to be brawled down to pieces on
Yeah, true.
average.
And to let everyone know, what would be your dream lance of each weight class, guys, for the Innisphere and the clans? So go ahead and put them down in the comments down below.
More or less does it for the sale. So to wrap up this last topic for this fairly short First Circuit podcast, we're just going to talk again about some missile weapons with the
Yep.
AMS change in mind.
Yep. And I haven't used too many like AMS systems. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I've been noticing a lot of people have been just kind of like locking on, then going to the next person, like hitting R. So it's really hard to use indirect fire, missile systems on people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
LRMs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to go and use them because like they'll I'm hiding behind a hill, just like okay, get to R, get to R. They'll start flipping through the different things for I don't know if it's on purpose or they're just trying to figure out what's there and everything. I have
Well, a
no
lot of the
clue.
time, at least if you're trying to rely on teammates' locks, is you need the teammate to expose against an enemy, press R, which is already very large ask.
Yeah.
But then for them to stay there and for the enemy to stay in their line of sight. Usually, even a teammate is exposing against an enemy, they're shooting the enemy, and the enemy is going to try and return fire, so the ally takes cover, or the enemy tries to take cover, in which case the ally loses
Yeah.
sight of them. So a lot of the time, I'm fairly good at pressing R, but it's only against a target that I've outflanked that I will consistently hold locks, because if I'm in a direct fire engagement, I'm torso twisting away, I'm looking away from the target, I'm taking cover, they're taking cover. So yeah, that's always been the issue with learn boats saying hold locks. It's just most people in most combat situations you aren't able to hold locks for indirect LRMs, which is why it's nice when you have a light mech who just runs up, fights
Yeah.
the enemy, and pops that UAV, and that's how you get your permanent locks.
Well, the
So
one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, the as always with LRMs, even before the patch, the best thing to do was just to get your own locks. You don't rely on your team to get into that lucky situation where they're holding locks for you.
Well, like generally though, like if let's say we're doing kind of like a push, right, and the lead mech focuses down like one of the other lead mechs, like on the opposite team, I could get a lock that way basically because they hold their locks. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. Just they're not holding R when they're actually shooting people. Like I know, like I'm trying to make it a purpose of me even doing a
Yeah.
direct fire, like mech, trying to hold R so I know which side to go kill. So I'm purposely targeting now left and right torsos, and I'm purposely targeting like legs now, just so I get an idea of like what's going on. But I just been noticing that. But I have been liking the direct fire LRMs. That's been a blast. That's been actually helping me a lot when say like polar highlands. Like I could direct fire like no problem. But if I creep over the hill, get the lock, and then I have the what's that node that basically holds lock like even past it.
Target decay.
Yeah, target decay. I have that as well. So I get the lock real quick, then go backwards and fire just so I have the peeking profile, and then shoot them like and they can't do anything about it. So I actually like that. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when people brawl, they're often too busy torso twisting or just aiming at the target. Like a lot of people can't handle the additional thing of pressing R. Which is understandable in some ways, but it does really screw some teams over because 2 or 3 mechs push and none of them press R, and they are like, guys, why aren't you helping? Well, we didn't know that you pushed or that you're fighting an enemy there. If you were fighting an enemy, you would have pressed R, wouldn't you? Oh, shut up! I was busy fighting the enemy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I couldn't exactly help you when I don't know who you're fighting or what condition they are or anything like that, which is why it's so crucial to get locks.
Oh
But
yeah.
I mean, in the end, at least, what I've seen is that missile weapons in general have taken quite a dip in this most recent patch. And I think a big part of that is, of course, the quad AMS Corsair is out in force. It, right out of the gate, got some of the strongest AMS quirks in the game, at least after PGI removed all the other ones. Which means you've got a 95 tonner. It's a big, strong. It's a really tough platform with quad AMS. It's got plenty of tonnage to equip all those AMS weapons and a decent weapons complement on the side. And with the range buff that PGI gave last patch, and the Corsair's range buff, it's 30% increased range. Like that's a really good coverage for quad AMS on a really tanky platform that is able to deal the damage. So whilst missile weapons are still used, I've seen plenty of matches where people are complaining, my MRM40 is doing nothing. It's getting shot down before it hits the target.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with you on that one. The I'm bringing the quad AMS Corsair 7R, I think it is, right? A 7R?
7A.
A 7A, sorry. Yeah, bringing that monster out there with the range.
7E.
No,
E.
I think it's A, but bringing that
Yeah.
monster out there is just incredible as far as like AMS wise. Like BrioS did a build with only 3 and actually worked out pretty well, but I mean having 4 is really nice as well too. But that actually put a damper on different missile systems coming out there. Even like when I played my my Arctic Wolf with 4 A-Team 3s and 3 Sturm 4s, I was having a hard time blowing through like some of the AMS quad mechs. Like the Corsair mech, I would have to alpha strike every single time and do less damage still. but that guy was just hammering out the like AMS and killing my missiles. And so like like the patch did good things, but then it also did bad things as far as like AMS wise. The problem is though, like Lerms is one of the I always say Lerms is a worse weapon system in the game itself, and so it has so many counters. You could stop it. Now, say ballistic weapons and laser weapons, they have almost no counters. I mean, literally, there's no counters for it. Like you can't have like laser reflective armor. You can't have what's that armor that blows off? I forgot what it's called. Um, you know, um,
Reactive armor in real life would
yeah,
be
like
the thing.
reactive armor. Yeah, you,
Technically, that's sort of what I think ferrofibrous armor is.
now it's fair for
It's
it's a little bit different. It's like lighter weight, but it's really like strong. But they got a specialized armor just versus ballistic weapons that like tanks use. I forgot what the name of the armor is though. But there's no counters for that kind of stuff. If they put that stuff in, that'd be perfect. But Lerms has so many counters like ECM, AMS, buildings, mountains, rocks, other people. There's so many things that would stop it from happening. But like ballistic weapons, laser weapons has almost nothing. That's why people are gravitating towards those type of weapons and using those instead of Lerms.
Well, I think a weapon LRMs were always just chosen for the indirect fire convenience. PGI with the PTS and this patch wanted to, of course, reinforce their direct fire playstyle, which means they gave the weapons faster velocity and a better arc, which is good and all. But in their attempts to try and make LRMs more viable, because LRMs were always sort of there are so many strong counters available in terms of AMS and ECM, or just using cover, that
Yeah,
LRMs were really not worth their tonnage, particularly when you had things like streaks or ATMs, particularly ATMs, that if you can get close enough and get that direct fire volley, that you could do a whole bunch of damage
yeah.
against, even if they had some AMS cover. Um, but yeah, whilst they've tried to improve the usability of LRMs, they tried to reinforce the fact that AMS was a soft counter by making it a strong counter. It's like they try and fix LRMs to make them more viable on average, and they just affect the viability of almost all missile weapons.
Well, yeah. Like I was looking on Twitter, and Chris was saying they might change that. So it might be changed pretty soon, based on how effective the weapon system is, and even in lore, Lerms were just basically like, let's say you got your Atlas with Lerm 20, heaven forbid, you got your Atlas with Lerm 20, AC-20, couple medium lasers, like whatever. He comes on the battlefield, shoots his Lerms long range, maybe medium range, but then once he starts getting into close combat, he really doesn't use that. He only uses like his AC-20 and medium lasers. And it, according to lore, it was just that to soften up the target before you get closer, and that's all it was. But of course, bringing tabletop games to games like Mechwarrior Online, it gets bastardized into something else. Like, oh, all I'm going to do is run around the edge of the map and shoot my Lerms at people, type of thing. So it really doesn't have the same, I guess, effectiveness or lore-ish bringing from the tabletop to the like online game world. And it was only used to go and soften targets. That's it, period. It wasn't used like we do it now.
Yeah. The thing is, on tabletop, at least, they often depict the maps are usually, it looks kind of much more flat on average, so mechs usually can draw line of sight, which means any long range weapon you can shoot back and forth with, and so LRMs have a place. In MechWarrior Online, though, there is so much more easy use of cover,
Yeah,
uh, that holding a lock at long range of LRMs is a lot less viable unless you're on like polar highlands. And even if you are exposing to get your own lock, obviously plenty of other ranged weapons can all focus back on you,
yeah,
which makes it a very tricky proposition. Whereas something like a Gauss rifle, you poke, bang, you're done, and you get back into cover. Uh, whereas LRMs always had that very long travel time. Um, so whilst I like the arc change, the AMS change, which they never gave us the numbers for, of course, was done in a way that almost universally nerfed missile health. And I don't see what was going through their heads when they went through this. Like, LRM5s, if you were chain firing LRM5s, even before all the AMS buffs, um, they were getting shot down easy peasy. That's why
Yeah.
people didn't bring LRM 5s. It was not only are you doing all the stuff like acquiring locks, you were getting destroyed by the few AMS systems that people did take already. And so what they did is they took the LRM 5 health of 1 and changed it to 1.
Yeah.
There we go. LRM 5s are now worth taking on smaller mechs. No, that is not at all makes any sense to me. And all they did was reduce the health of the larger launchers. All you're doing is hurting larger launchers, which in previous balance changes they were pushing people to take larger launchers because um, with the larger LRM launchers, you're actually wasting more tonnage. Like there's extra tonnage. An LRM 5 for Inner Sphere is 2 tons, LRM 10 is 5 tons. You're wasting a ton for no reason for a weapon that has a longer cooldown.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Sorry, like I was just gonna say, just to pop in there, the AMS systems were not built to go blow away like missile systems. They were not built for that. They were just built to kind of reduce the damage. Like in a tabletop game, you have a LRM 20 coming in. Yeah, AMS system I think either does a D6 or 2D6 and shoots down that many missiles, and then you round down or round up depending. It's been a long time since I played tabletop, and then go on the missile chart and see how many missiles hit type thing. And that's all it was designed for. It wasn't designed to go blow the missile systems out with like quad AMS systems like the Corsair. So it wasn't built for that. It was just built to soften your blow against you. Period. And that's all it was used for.
Well, that's the funny thing though with AMS is that it does soften the blow. That's how it works in the game. The thing is, you can do things where everyone takes an AMS. And if everyone is softening the blow, there's hardly a blow left at the end. The thing is, AMS has always been so weak that it was not really worth going after using that ton, or at least on most people's minds. It was just use cover rather than use AMS.
Well,
But
like you were
now,
shooting a LRM 20 at me, and I was blown out of the water.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But that's with quad AMS that there's a very big dedicated AMS mech now. But there were even, there was before always the Kit Fox, the Nova, and it was fun taking them out because you had 3 quote unquote soft counters that went together to be a kind of a strongish counter to AMS. At least it cut back the rain quite by a noticeable degree. And there were still times sometimes where I would play against a team where they have a couple of triple AMS Novas and the rest are just taking a laser AMS for some reason. And just the sheer number of AMSs would shoot things down. And so PGI attempts to make the AMS system a soft counter, make it stronger. It just does not add up at all for me whatsoever.
Hmm.
And I think there were some changes that made sense, at least. So ATMs always, they had the least number of missiles per launcher. You put a lot of tonnage in to fire them. So increasing their health for the small launchers makes total sense. That was actually one of the few changes that did make sense. But SRM 6s, Streak 6s, were they really in need of a 50% health nerf? No. You only have 6 missiles per launcher. It's hard enough, getting all the tonnage, finding a mech that can fit 4 SRM 6 launchers together. At least, not every mech can do that. So some mechs are just stuck using SRM 12, and you're making AMS really good against a brawling weapon? Leave SRMs alone. Even including streaks like clan streaks, they have a really long range. They're already shot down a lot by AMS. Why give them that 50% health nerf? It's overkill, huge overkill for SRMs and streak 6s. They have the same kind of problem as ATMs. It's just, at least with SRMs, you could use it at point blank range. Same with streaks to a degree, but with streaks you want to stay at max range.
But like one thing I want to go pop in there. The problem is though, you have a greedy factor, right? Most people will not put AMS systems inside their mechs because they want that extra ton to 2 tons or whatever, and like however much you would put in there, like left over. They'll put an extra heatsink. They'll put an extra target computer. They'll put like extra armor. They don't want to be quote the team player because it's quick play, and so they're just gonna go play the game and go get C-bills and do that kind of thing. So there's that factor that a lot of people won't put those in. If they do, it helps out the whole team. If they don't, you're going to get hit by a couple of missiles. You'll be hit like all the time. So there's a greedy factor that's involved into the calculation, I guess, of the AMS systems. Now, if a person dedicated like the Corsair or the like Nova or the Kitfox, they have to sacrifice that amount of tonnage or that amount of stuff and have less weapons, but they're helping out the whole team.
Yeah, yeah. I just thinking like the thing with missile systems is they were already quite a fair weapon system. Like they're one of the fairest weapon systems in the game. If someone aims a laser at your center torso or Gauss rifle or whatever, there's not much you can do. I mean, with a laser you can twist it away. With Daka you can perhaps twist in time, but missiles on average are slower. They spread all over the place, and even though they do a fair amount of damage, that damage is spread, and you have time to roll it away. And missile systems, as we mentioned, of course, have those counters, AMS, ECM. If ever it becomes too strong, weapons have always been able to be countered. Whereas if Gauss rifles just become crazy, they get rid of the charge timer, they halve the cooldown, or something like that. There's not much you could do against overpowered Gauss rifles, but against missile systems, oh, there's so many LRMs in the air. What do we do? Well, take an ECM AMS mech, like a Kitfox, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so I don't get why PGI did such a strong nerf to weapons, to missile systems. I thought they were fairly well balanced. And if you're worried about, LRM-5s, ATM-3s not being used that often, or even SRM-2s, just buff their missile health. Why, even with SRM-2s, you're like, oh, they're not used enough, so let's take 30% of their hit points away. Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
It seemed completely backward to me. I mean, the one I would agree with in terms of missile health nerf would perhaps be MRMs.
What's that?
Before, with all missiles having the same health points, um, you could fire an MRM 40 instead of an LRM 20, and you got twice the amount of missiles flying through the air, and they're going directly. So AMS had very, very little effect. So I could see a 30% health nerf to MRMs, maybe even up to 50%, but 80%? What have you got against missile systems, BGI? They were actually decently balanced.
So, like with everything, Chris will actually change it. So they'll change missile health, they'll change how MS systems work, they'll change like whatever basically that's out there. It's a first patch, basically like the game didn't get built in one day; it got built over time. So they're trying to figure out all the different numbers. I'm sure they got some numbers going, like running in the background somewhere. Chris is like looking at the numbers like a spreadsheet, going, "Oh, okay, this is that, this is what's happening here," doing this kind of thing. So, I mean, I think that it will be fixed over time as far as the AMS systems and not be as explosive. But the thing, like I said, it's a greedy factor. Like on every assault mech should have at least one AMS with a half a ton. That's 1 ton that you could sacrifice to go and have that. Every assault mech should have that, just for a simple, like, I'm going to shoot down 5 missiles. That's 5 less damage that you're going to go take, type thing. It should have that. Period.
Somewhat yes, somewhat no. If you're a poor Night Star, you have those low arm actuators and hand actuators, and ferrofibrous armor or endosteel, sorry, takes up a lot of space. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going to be able to. It's really hard to find the 2 slots for AMS,
yeah. True.
which is, as you mentioned before, the greed factor. But yeah, I usually quite liked using missile systems because they gave you lots of damage, particularly with SRMs. They were really good at brawling, but they widened the spread of SRMs so that they're not the good brawling weapon anymore. They they kind of made them obsolete. And it's like, okay, fine, I'll take the streaks, I'll take the MRMs, I'll take the ATMs. I'll use the mid-range missile weapons. You screwed over short-range missiles, but now you screwed over almost all missiles, except for ATMs. And ATMs were still kind of struggling against AMS. And AMS has just, been taken a lot more now.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Um, um, I think this whole change just needs to be reverted, except the nerfs to MRM should be turned down, because I think you do want AMS to actually have some effect on MRMs. Before it was kind of crazy how MRMs just totally almost ignored AMS. But yeah, it just and again, I loved using the Narc launcher back in the day, and they're like, oh no, this thing is useful in team play. Oh no, it's almost like any weapon system used en masse is good in team play for the most part. If
Yeah.
you're all taking, we do this all the time. We all take machine guns, we all take flamers, and we just charge in. Oh, suddenly flamers and machine guns are OP. Well, it's because it's team play. Yeah, it's the same as any case. And by doubling the cooldown, all you did was actually make it only useful in team play. Like narcs are still great in team play because you have the 2 spotters and the 10 LRM boats. You spot somebody and they die. It doesn't matter that it took you twice as long to spot the next target. It takes you about 7 seconds to kill the first target anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
All it
Base.
does is
Well, like they did that because I think I could be wrong, completely wrong on this, but I think Sean Lang was using it and he was narking like everybody, and so basically like and plus during like group play, I think we encountered this several times. It's just everyone's narked, and then they have a couple like learn buffs that were just learning like everything. So they wanted to actually change the cooldown to what I think is like 7 seconds or 12 or something like that. Like I forgot what the cooldown is, but they changed the
7
cooldown.
seconds now.
Yeah, they changed the cooldown from what it was before because you could shoot, wait 2 or 3 seconds, boom, shoot again, boom, shoot again, and keep on shooting every single mech, and then they're targeted for 2 minutes or I think it's 2 minutes.
Minute at max. With,
Yeah, minute max. Yeah.
Yeah.
This shows you how much I use Narc, by the way. So they're targeted like a long time, and so they just learn, and to kill that and kill the mech and go to the next one, type thing, or just go find different targets that are out there. That's why they changed it, because it was just like you're saying. Well, everyone's using like flamers and machine guns. We must nerf them now because they're so OP now. You've done a group play, and so group play dictated how narcs are being used.
Yeah, though it's a funny thing. Let's just say you have roughly 35 seconds. Instead of knocking 10 targets, you're knocking 5 targets. That's still a loss of target.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And a UAV can instantly mark 12 targets all in one go. To actually knock all the enemy on the team, it actually requires you to expose to each of them on the team and to actually land the launch shot with the narc launcher.
Yeah.
Particularly for IS side, you're paying 4 tons, 5 tons for this infotech weapon. That's a huge investment, even more than AMS. And the missile is slow, the missile is unreliable. It's hard to reliably hit targets. So it pushed it into even more of a niche role than it used to be. I loved using Narc, back in the old day, because it actually was useful. And it could be worth that tonnage investment. But now it's only really useful for those LRM teams. And it just, I really wish PGI actually had given something else to Narc to make it useful, particularly in quick play.
Well, like I think they need to reinvest or relook at the electronic warfare system of Mechwarrior line as far as give an extra sensor range for say like the Raven or some other types of mechs that are out there. Cool, that's fine, but they need to like and plus given like an extra narc like narc bonuses and everything. They need to figure out something of how ECM works, or not not just ECM, electronic counter measures, electronic warfare, like whatever you want to call it. Figure out something that's a little bit more complicated than what it is now, because I mean literally though it's really easy to go ahead and do what you got to do for the ECM and and figure out different things. Of course I still have a problem with countering, but that's my own like issue. I don't have time to go ahead and click the little buttons, but it's just they need to revisit how electronic warfare works.
Yeah, I'm not sure though what changes would make sense though. Like,
Yeah, I don't know either actually. So.
if we're talking about the narc launcher, what changes could be done? For example, one that comes to my head would just be it makes locks on. If you have narc to target, you can lock onto it instantaneously. It doesn't actually act as a little UAV. It just provides instant locks. So that would be the advantage of taking a narc launcher. Is if you're a LRM boat, for example, you narc it and you can instantly LRM it as long as you can get the lock. And that means if you can get the lock mechanics are down to a mech holding R or a UAV.
Yeah. See, I think another problem is too. There's no counter. There's no counter like versus narcs. See, with the UAV, you can shoot it down. That's no problem. But there's no counter like
Um,
versus narcs except for damage wise.
a Narc is the most susceptible to the missile counters. At least it's only one missile, so it can actually get shot down by AMS fairly easily. It's all just basically a random dice roll, whether you get through AMS. And if there's any ECM bubble, if anyone is under any ECM bubble, the Narc does nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I meant basically as far as Oh, okay, never mind. There's two counters in. How's that?
Yeah, because that's the really awkward thing if you're a Narc boat is you have to actually Narc all the ECM mechs before you get any benefit, or at least all the local ECM mechs. If there's a guy off on his own, sure, you can Narc him easy peasy. But when the enemy team form a blob and there's like 3 ECM mechs amongst them, you have to Narc all 3 of them before your Narc actually does anything. That is terrible. That is, you're wasting on the sphere again. You're wasting 4 or 5 tons for nothing, for no benefit. You're aiming a very tricky projectile that often gets shot down for nothing, for no benefit.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're waiting forever to fire the next Narc shot. And this is one of the Narc launcher is the longest cooldown in the game, I think. Heavy Gauss, what's that? That's 5 seconds plus 0.75 to fire. 5.75. I don't think there's anything longer. Nothing as long as Narc launchers. Why? Why is firing a single missile one of the most laborious reloading mechanisms in the game?
It has to load the electronic warfare doohickey on it and fire the weapon, and then it has to go find its target.
The Narc missile. It builds it.
Yes, it builds inside your mech. Exactly.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Because that 7 seconds, all I want is it to go down to like 5 seconds. That way, a Narc launcher has about the same cycle time as medium lasers, Gauss rifles, Ember M40s, simple, humble weapon systems that, we've already got longish cooldowns. But the Narc, it dwarfs all others, and it means you can't even, I love just using something like Ember M40, medium lasers, and Narc all together. It was a potent alpha strike. You got infotech, you did random missile splatter damage, and you did pinpoint laser damage. But the Narc launcher in 7 seconds is so laboriously long, it does not sync with anything.
Hopefully they'll fix it when no one. I mean, I rarely see that thing being used. I rarely see it, and normally when
it was a rare sight before.
Yeah, it was rare,
it's almost never seen now. That oh no, LRMs are hardly being used. Well, what about Narcs?
Yeah, God.
I don't know, but it seems with PGI, why do you keep screwing over missile systems? They were, and sometimes somewhat still are, the most balanced weapon system in the game. The fact that they have the most counters available to them, I don't see why you need to keep giving such huge nerfs to them.
Well, the last patch was a good patch for it, though. At least I think, except for the AMS systems. But
LRM's got a usability buff, and that was about it mostly. And nobody uses them because, the counter just became so much stronger.
Exactly. Like, I noticed that last night when I was playing, that literally it's like, okay, why even take those things? Like, I was bringing an Arctic Wolf in some games with four ATM 3s and 3 Streak 4s, and I couldn't get through stuff. I was like, okay, this sucks. This blows up. Well, just nerfed my neck. Just nerfed my mech now, and what do I got to do? It's like, oh, I guess I'll go play ballistic then.
Like some mediums that use missiles at longer ranges than point blank. Screw you. It just absolutely screws them over. And missiles were one of the few weapon systems that smaller mechs could actually use, since it's either lasers or missile. It's kind of hard to shove in an AC-20 into a Raven. It can be done, but that's all you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically last patch is tantamount to they said, clan ballistics need a bit of a work. Why are you spending more slots on a regular AC, clan AC? Let's make them fire singular projectiles. And I'm like, yeah, I approve. If you equip an AC-20 in clan, it's a single projectile, just like in a sphere. That's awesome. What are you doing? PGI, you just doubled all Inner Sphere survival quirks. No one's using clan autocannons now. No one's even using clans. Look at that Atlas. It has 200 armor on the CT.
Yeah, I never could understand that. Based off of what's going on, they use like ultra cannons instead of actually normal AC cannons.
I'm just saying they're doing a minor improvability work to one weapon system, but then they make a huge change that ruins the entire tech base.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, and that's somewhat what they've done with AMS systems. They're like, oh no, clans can now do pinpoint placker damage. Let's double Innisphere survival quirks. And no, that means that Zeus has now 60 extra structure just from quirks to its center torso. You're not killing it any time with Daka, pinpoint or not. And it's the same thing with missiles. This is why, at least with patches, it's important that PGI actually gives us the numbers, because we had no idea this was coming.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, but there are some people that would just throw it in their face and when you're doing these patches, you're doing on your best judgments and on your best different things of how balance would work. And then someone comes along and says, "Well, this will be better," and then they start hammering you as a creator. Like you're sitting there, basically doing the patch notes. You're like, "Well, dude, I'm just trying to make it work." There's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes as far as like how these patches work and all these different numbers. Yeah, I gave you the numbers, but you don't know how they calculate into what's going on inside the game. And so like when they give out the numbers, it's a little bit different though. Than they see the complete picture, but we as people, like, we only see part of it. But yeah, the numbers would be fine though. I wouldn't mind that. But they see a lot of different things. That's probably why they don't give out the numbers.
I don't know why they didn't give out the numbers, because with most other matters, they are completely open in the patch notes. They will produce a spreadsheet which shows the exact number changes from mobility increases. They're not telling you it's just increasing by 2 meters per second. They're telling you exactly the numbers that it's going up by.
Yeah.
They will tell you the exact health increases. And sometimes they will tell you, oh, the executioner is getting a turn rate speed increase, and then you could look at the spreadsheet and you could look at the numbers afterwards and go, haha, you were lying. That's great. I can tell that they are. I really like it when they're open and transparent about these changes, particularly such big ones like the missile health change. And for some reason, throughout PTS after PTS, and finally with the final patch, they just say, we're changing the missile health. We're trying to make it so smaller launches are more durable. I was like, okay, you're increasing the health with LRM 5s. I can agree with that. They didn't do that. They lied. They misled us. Why mislead us on this? This is at least, why I'm a little upset about it. It's if you were doing a minor change, sure, it's a pity you didn't tell us the numbers for some reason, but okay. But if you're doing a huge changes like this, you want to let the community know about it. That's the whole point of doing the PTS for so long. They wanted to, you do the PTS so that the community gets used to your design decisions. You ease them into it, rather than the community having to find out afterwards that their health of missiles have been nerfed by up to 80%.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll never know why they don't give the numbers out. You'll never know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, we can make up our own stuff as far as like figure out, okay, well, this, a one ATM launcher with this amount of quirks will blow an LRM 5 out of the water, or LRM 10 will get 3 hit points through, or something like that. We'll figure this stuff out like normally, because we do anyways.
No matter what awful changes they do, like to dark launchers, the important thing is transparency. And that's why I've always liked that they do patch notes, that they give us the details, so that we know what's coming up, and so that we actually have some figures to work with, rather than we having to figure it out on our own. And it's nice if they actually give the numbers, because then people in the comments can say, PGI, you're saying you're trying to help LRM 5 health, but it isn't moving. It's not changed at all. All you did was hurt larger launches. And PGI goes, you know what? Yes, our stated reasons of what we're actually doing do not add up at all. Maybe we should think about this a bit more. It's great because they can get feedback. It's not just help the community accept the changes. You can, I'm not saying all feedback by the community is necessarily you should listen to, but sometimes if you're doing such a huge change like this, the community might sort of notice, like you accidentally say, okay, we're going to do a buff. We're going to, the Vulcan is dying too quickly. We're going to give it minus 20 armor on every component. And the community goes, that's not a buff, PGI. That's a nerf. That makes the Vulcan incredibly fragile. And PGI goes, oh yes, minus is less. and they're able to turn the minus into a plus, and we don't have that awful time where for a month the Vulcan is walking around basically butt naked.
See, the problem is though, like there's constructive criticism, and then there's like aggressive, crappy like criticism towards companies, and I would say it's probably about a 30-70 split basically. So people can actually say, hey, blah blah this, being inconstructive, and then there's the rest of the 70%. They're like, you idiot, how would you do this? And that kind of thing. So it just all depends. It all depends on how people, as a community themselves, give constructive criticism. Constructive criticism, not deconstructive or aggressive or crappy like criticism towards a company. And then a lot of times, when a company gets a lot of flack, say like Fallout 76 and Bethesda, they won't listen to you like anymore. They won't listen to the community. They'll just go and do their own thing, and then hopefully it'll all work out.
Attempt to wrap up this topic. One moment.
Okay.
All right.
You okay there?
Attempt to wrap
You're not going to die on me?
Though, at least in terms of constructive criticism, I agree with PGI's rationale that the AMS and somewhat ECM as well should be soft counters to missiles. They do cut back on the effectiveness of missiles, but to make it worth taking that investment, but they shouldn't shut it down so strongly. And that was what I thought they were doing with the AMS change. I really hope in future with the health missile changes, they revert this, because missile weapons, as I said earlier, are one of the more balanced weapon systems in the game. At least the fact that there's actually counters you could take, the fact that they spread their damage, the fact that they're usually kind of slow moving, even if they do have on average a larger quantity of damage, they are the most fun to play against. And this nerf is kind of part of the reason why I just didn't want to play the most recent event. I love using missile weapons. I like getting shot by missile weapons. They're the most fair weapon system. And you just made the soft counter really strong, or relatively strong against it, when a mech which had 4 of them came out with some really strong quirks on top of it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that one. Yeah, it's a fun missile system. It's balanced. It kind of needed the like indirect and direct fire type thing, because I think that actually sharing armor, do that kind of thing.
Change.
And I like it. Yeah.
It's just a pity you don't see those LRMs reaching the target.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a good patch. It was a good change for the LRM systems, and I don't mind that. That was actually not too bad. Just like you talked about, man, the AMS systems just kind of blew it out of the water,
I mean, it's plus 10 plus 10 fun for the LRM weapons, minus 20 fun for all missile weapons. And that just means I don't play, I'm afraid. I really like playing the missile systems. I don't want to always just play these. And I like playing mixed weapons as well. And it makes a lot of my mechs obsolete at the moment. Why take that ballistic missile energy mech when 1/3 of it is pointless?
Well, yeah, basically, and if a group or a couple guys who like support builds get matched up in quick play, you're sitting there going, well, that sucks. I could get that lone guy out in the middle of nowhere that doesn't know what he's doing, and I can't touch the blob. So it's like, okay, well, that's my mech's kind of nerfed. If you're more of a LRM type mech, LRMs and then a couple small lasers or something like that, you're just pretty much nerfed. So yeah, it just sucks.
I took my LRM 30 catapult, and sometimes when I'm playing my LRM mechs, the ones which are kind of balanced between LRM and backup weapons, that LRM catapult, it's only weapons where it's lasers, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
The missiles are being shot down, and if I get too close, they do no damage. So, I'm a 4 medium laser mech, everyone. Woo!
Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. So, thank you for watching the First Circuit Podcast, episode number 79,000. This is Old Bob, hello, and Biter,
Blarg.
and thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the battlefield.